AANHPI Amplified.
Did you miss any of the Karen Reed murder trial today? We have you covered. We're getting you caught up on everything you may have missed and what you can expect next in the trial. That's just minutes away at 7.
I'm a Lyft driver who is also a college student.
I drive part-time with DoorDash to take care of my parents.
I drive with Uber to support my family.
These app-based drivers are independent contractors. They work when they want, how they want. And 85% of drivers want to keep it that way. But some officials want to force drivers to be company employees.
A traditional 9-to-5 just wouldn't work for me.
We want to stay independent. Say yes to drivers. Say yes to independence.
You're watching NBC 10 Boston. News worthy of you. Tonight on Canton Confidential. A frantic 911 call.
It was a chaotic scene. People just kind of walking in and out.
And evidence called into question.
We decided on finding some type of temporary plastic evidence container.
As new light is shed on old relationships.
It's very clear to us that Katie McLaughlin perjured herself.
We are bringing you all the headlines from day 5 of testimony. Canton Confidential, the Karen Reed murder trial, starts right now.
We've entered the second week of testimony. Good evening, I'm Glenn Jones.
I'm JC Monahan. Reed, of course, accused of hitting her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her SUV and leaving him to die in a blizzard in 2022. On the stand today were 2 more Canton police officers. But before we talk about today's testimony, let's quickly recap what happened last week. We had 4 days of testimony. We heard from a dozen witnesses, John O'Keefe's brother and his sister-in-law. They were the first to testify. They shared details of O'Keefe's life and his relationship with Reed. We learned O'Keefe and Reed had reconnected at the beginning of COVID after dating briefly back in 2004.
On Friday, jurors stepped outside the courtroom and visited 2 sites in Canton. One of the bars where O'Keefe and Reed visited the night before his death, and the front yard where his body was found. The jury also getting a close-up look at Karen Reed's vehicle when it was brought back to Fairview. Reed confirmed to us the vehicle is in fact hers.
We also heard from first responders who gave accounts of what happened when they arrived at Fairview Road and what records were kept, though their accounts of exactly what Karen Reed said in those moments were slightly different.
And that leads us to Katie McLaughlin of Canton Fire. She was one of the first responders on scene and claimed Karen Reed admitted to the killing while at the scene. But the defense at the start of court today accused her of perjury, given her relationship and friendship with Caitlin Albert. Albert's parents owned the home where O'Keefe's body was found. McLaughlin said she and Caitlin were only acquaintances and not good friends. But the defense challenged that, showing McLaughlin images of her and Caitlin together. More details came to light today.
Katie McLaughlin and Caitlin Albert are standing next to each other in a photo at a baby shower in June of 2021, about 8 months before John O'Keefe's death. It's very clear to us that Katie McLaughlin perjured herself.
Now, it's really important to note here, the jury hasn't seen these images because they haven't been admitted as evidence. The defense has asked the judge to rule on whether they'll be allowed. Judge Canoni has not ruled on that yet. We have a lot still to unpack. Our Kirsten Glavin has been following every moment of this trial.
She joins us live outside Dedham Courthouse with some of the biggest takeaways from today's testimony. Kirsten.
Well, guys, the jury is just starting to get a sense of just how small this town really is, with multiple responding police officers already knowing the homeowners. There are multiple Canton connections now at play here. A second week of testimony in the Karen Reed murder trial. Some of John O'Keefe's family members tearfully listening to a 911 call made that morning. Attorneys from both sides also honing in on the Canton Police Department's methods of evidence collection.
I was removing the snow layer by layer.
Lieutenant Paul Gallagher explaining how he used a leaf blower to uncover a cocktail glass near where O'Keefe's body was found.
We have the blood. And then right here is the broken drinking glass.
Blood samples from the snow also collected.
We decided on finding some type of temporary plastic evidence container. We were able to find large cups, and we took 6 samples.
Red Solo cups borrowed from a neighbor to hold the evidence. They're shown later in this photo, stored at the Canton Police Department in a Stop and Shop grocery bag near Reed's SUV.
It appeared that those unsealed cups with liquid blood in them are situated right near the right rear quarter panel of the SUV in this photograph?
They are to the rear of the vehicle, yes.
Possible cross-contamination raised by the defense, along with questions as to why the home was never searched. Canton police only saying they recused themselves from interviews because of family ties and that there was no probable cause.
We did not want to go on any investigative interviews because one of our best investigators, name is Kevin Albert. He's the property owner's brother, and we didn't think it would be appropriate if we were on those interviews questioning his family members.
Family ties also under the microscope as a second witness, Canton Sergeant Sean Good, takes the stand.
In addition to being a colleague, would you also consider Kevin Albert to be a friend?
Yeah, we've socially hung out after work.
Outside of court, Reed's defense capitalizing on the Canton connections. Are you concerned about the family ties in this case?
Extremely concerned. Yeah, that's been the heartbeat of this case from the very beginning.
Now, after the jury was dismissed, we did hear some testimony from a sergeant who was one of the first to go inside of the Alberts home. The defense wants to bring up a 20-year-old investigation that he took part in, as well as the Alberts, that resulted in an alleged wiped record. Now, that is something the judge says she's going to look into. She did request the police reports from that incident, so we'll wait and see if that is going to come into play here. It's the latest live here in Dedham. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
Okay, Kirsten, thank you. We're going to get into that in our conversations today here as well. Let's bring in our first guest tonight. Back in the studio with us is local attorney Catherine Luftus. You may also recognize her from her TikTok account, Note My Objection, and Michael Coyne, Dean at Massachusetts School of Law, who will get on TikTok soon, no doubt.
Michael, let's start with you. There was a lot of talk about probable cause. And from the beginning, actually, why didn't they go to the door of the Alberts home, which is where John O'Keefe was found on that early morning hours? And today, Lieutenant Gallagher repeatedly said, no probable cause, no probable cause. They said, well, the defense said, well, you don't need probable cause to ask, to knock on the door and ask. Where do you fall in this? Can you just parcel it out a little bit?
Absent permission, you cannot search someone's home without probable cause existing. Probable cause simply means that you have evidence to support the commission of a crime within the house or by the people within the house. And their testimony says we didn't believe we had probable cause at that point. All of the evidence we've seen so far, I think, would support it. The question really becomes, why didn't you at least ask? But I'll be honest with you, if I were representing them, and I think if most lawyers were representing them, I wouldn't have given you access to the home without permission to search. I don't know, who knows what was going on in the early morning hours between midnight and 3 a.m. there. The fact is that when they're searching and there's a dead body in your front yard, they're looking for evidence to convict you potentially. And so I would not have told my clients to grant permission under the circumstances either.
I would just say Lieutenant Gallagher really did sort of he was very straightforward on that one. Every question he didn't hem or haw was no probable cause, end of story.
Catherine, let's talk about another first responder here. Sure. One of the firefighters, Katie McLaughlin, is being accused of perjury because of her alleged relationship with Caitlin Albert. And the defense says its evidence of that are social media pictures. Now, I don't believe everything I see on social media. Is that standard good enough to establish a relationship that she lied about?
I think that, to be quite honest, so we had the testimony from firefighter Katie McLaughlin on Friday, and we had the defense come back this morning and essentially say we were provided with additional photographs outlining the relationship on social media between Caitlin Albert and Katie McLaughlin. I think the word, to throw around the word perjury, is a little bit loose. I think that it really what it comes down to is potentially a mischaracterization of the relationship. So Katie McLaughlin talked about being acquaintances, whereas the defense wants her to admit that they're close friends. At the end of the day, I think who decides what acquaintances is really a subjective interpretation. And to say that she committed perjury is really that she told an untruth on the stand. I'm not sure that they get there. They asked the questions that they wanted to. There was an individual voir dire conducted by the judge. She determined that the photos were excluded. So I think it's likely that they will be unable to go back down this.
And just to underscore one point, perjury is a crime.
It is.
What they're accusing her of is a crime.
It is. That's the accusation. I'm not sure that it quite rises to that level, but that's certainly the allegation that was
To
made.
circle back, the pictures that they had brought up that the jurors didn't get to see because, again, the judge had not decided whether or not they were admissible. Over the weekend, the internet sleuths went nuts and dug up more photos, and that's really why we started today with the defense saying, look, we showed you 2 on Friday, but we have a baby shower, this. Even if it doesn't get into the trial itself, that's out there again. This is another one of those, can you like earmuff it and like, la la la, I didn't hear any of that. I mean, it's all the talk now.
It's difficult, and I think it has to be pretty hard for the jury in 2024, when we all have access to social media, we all have access to the internet, to avoid any, seeing any information. But ultimately, that's what they're tasked with doing. The judge asks them every day, are you influenced by anything you've seen outside? And so, what I always tell to my followers, it doesn't matter what's being said on Twitter or in the blogs. It's what evidence the jury has in front of them, and that's what they have to consider.
Well, another thing that the defense wants the jury to hear is about this alleged relationship between Michael Lank of the Canton Police Department and the Alberts that go back 20 years. What's your take on that? How do you think the judge is going to rule on the request to admit that relationship into evidence?
She will admit the relationship on cross in all likelihood. The evidence of bias, because it goes to the very core of whether your testimony is truthful or not, and whether they had a prior relationship of 20 plus years, whether he has protected Mr. Albert in the past, and there is evidence to support that in the federal complaint that was filed against him that was subsequently settled. The judge will allow some of that evidence in because it strikes at the heart of whether that testimony is truthful. If these witnesses are biased, that's something the jury is entitled to consider. And the judge doesn't have the same latitude on discretion with respect to bias.
Well, at this point, it seems like they're accusing more people of bias on the stand than those they are not making that accusation.
Well, I mean, it's a small town. These people were born and raised there for most of, so of course there's going to be a connection. It's just whether or not, I guess, you believe the depth of it, the definition of acquaintance versus a friendship.
It's going to be interesting to see how that
just one layer.
Yep. We still have a lot more to explore this half hour.
When we come back, we'll be joined by security analyst and retired state trooper Todd McGee about securing the crime scene and transporting the evidence. And as we go to break, another live look at the courthouse in Dedham. We'll be right back.
It's frustrating, I'm angry, I'm sad.
Problem's a joke. I mean, it's not for the consumer.
So we reached out to you with hopes that you knew more about it.
When we learned the fund designed to protect homeowners was failing, the NBC 10 investigators took your complaints right to the state. Did you look at that and just say, this is common sense?
What I want to do when I look at it is take a whole new approach.
The changes they made from our reporting now putting thousands of dollars back in your pocket. To Catch a Contractor, tonight at 11 on NBC 10 Boston.
Meet the traveling trio. The thrill seeker, the soul searcher, and ahoy, it's the explorer, each helping to protect their money with Chase. Whoa, a lost card isn't keeping this thrill seeker down. Lost her card? Not the vibe. The soul searcher is finding his identity and helping to protect it. Oh yeah, the explorer. She's looking to dive deeper, all while Chase looks out for her. Because these friends have Chase. Alerts that help check, tools that help protect, one bank that puts you in control. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Where can you get Wi-Fi speeds faster than Verizon? X marks the spot. Get the lowest price ever for Xfinity Gig Speed Internet with unlimited data included. That's Xfinity Gig Speed Internet for only $30 a month for 12 months with no annual contract when you add a line of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited. If you want to save more than $800 over Verizon in your first year, X marks the spot. Switch to fast, reliable Xfinity Internet and bring on the good stuff.
Household expenses are higher, and at National Grid, we know more of our customers can benefit from extra assistance. We're here to help you manage your energy bills. It all starts with a no-cost home energy assessment. we'll assess your home and help find ways to reduce your energy costs. Like getting up to 100% off energy-saving upgrades based on income eligibility. Get started now and see what you may qualify for at ngrid.com/startsaving.
Do you think it's standard practice for a police department to borrow red Solo cups from a neighbor to gather evidence?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that, Lieutenant.
Of course not. Nothing about the scene was standard.
That is Canton Police Lieutenant Paul Gallagher. He was in charge of preserving the crime scene where John O'Keefe's body was found. We saw a video of Gallagher using a leaf blower right here in an attempt to blow away some of the snow and expose any possible evidence that was under there.
Some of that evidence collected was blood, but the blood was frozen. Gallagher confirmed the cups used to collect the blood evidence were red Solo cups provided by a member of the Canton Police Department who lived near the scene. Those cups were then transported in this Stop and Shop brown paper bag back to the police station. Lieutenant Gallagher said he had never processed a scene quite like this in the snow before. We're joined now by Todd McGee. He is a former Massachusetts State Trooper and a security analyst. Todd is joining us remotely tonight.
Todd, let's go through this part sort of step by step. Let's first talk about the leaf blower. Okay, the officer, Lieutenant Gallagher said, you know what, he's never done anything like this before, not just the snowy scene, but also using a leaf blower. The video does seem to show them being careful. It wasn't as you think of it when you're going through your own yard, but how outside the box was the decision in the first place?
Well, to use a leaf blower is not a conventional way of conducting your investigation. There's a high probability that you could blow away evidence besides the obvious blood stains that appear here before the jury that was presented today in court. There may have been other items that could have been consistent with additional evidence, such as threads, such as clothing, something from another individual that may have been involved in the death of Officer O'Keefe. So to use a snowblower is not something in my 24 years being used as a resource and tool during the middle of a murder investigation.
All right, that context is really important, Todd. Let's talk then about the Solo cups used to gather some of the blood that was on the snow at the scene. Of course, as a layman, I associate Solo cups with drinking beer and playing flip cup games in college. It doesn't make sense to me that it would be used at a crime scene. But this crime scene was unique. Is this warranted in any way from your perspective?
There are a number of ways to collect blood samples, and from swabbing and properly putting this type of evidence into some type of a secured, something that's been sterilized, because it needs to be analyzed later on in the lab. So again, collection of evidence as well as the chain of custody is a critical aspect. And again, we have to understand that the physical evidence that being presented in court is something that both prosecution and defense are going to leverage if it helps their case in the case of the prosecution, or if it helps Karen Reed in the case of the defense.
We're almost out of time. I'm sorry, Glenn. I was just going to say, just the optics aren't good, though. Would you agree that Solo cups and a leaf blower doesn't sound good as good choices to make?
Coming right out of the bat, very unconventional resource, something that I've seen in my 24-year career.
Okay, Todd McGee, a security analyst and former Massachusetts State Trooper, thank you. We want all of you out there to join in our Canton Confidential conversation.
If you have something you'd like to ask us, then ask the experts. Send us an email at canton.confidential@nbcuni.com. We'll be right back.
My sons, Tuck and Pete, lead the law firm of Sweeney Merrigan. Sure, they're brothers, but they can be as different as night and day. Tuck is quick on his feet. Pete, quick on the draw. Street smart, book smart, great talker, great listener. They each have their own special traits. Together, they're unstoppable. It's not the luck of the Irish. They're just that good. Take it from their mother. If you've been seriously injured, you don't need a miracle. You just need a Merrigan.
LifeSurge is coming to Boston on Saturday, June 22nd. Be inspired and equipped to grow your financial resources for Kingdom Impact, featuring leaders in faith and finance, including renowned speaker Priscilla Shire, two-time national football champion Tim Tebow, actor and producer Kelsey Grammer, star of The Prophet Marcus Lemonis, Duck Dynasty's Willie Robertson, and worship artists Natalie Grant and Jeremy Camp. That's LifeSurge, Saturday, June 22nd. Tickets on sale at lifesurge.com.
This doesn't happen often. Choose from 2 incredible offers at Bernie and Phil's. With a minimum purchase, save up to $2,000 plus 0% financing for 1 year. Or choose 0% financing up to 72 months. We carry beautiful furniture at amazing prices. In-stock items are available for next day delivery or customize and receive in as little as 30 days. Make your home more comfortable with savings up to $2,000 or 0% financing up to 72 months at Bernie and Phil's.
That's nice. I believe the stock market remains the greatest wealth-generating machine in history. Today, we've entered a period that comes along once in a lifetime where certain industries and stocks are poised to create massive generational wealth. And if you don't adjust your approach, you will miss out or simply mismanage the opportunity. I wrote my newest book to help you navigate this new world of investing and make you an unbreakable investor. Within the pages of my book, you'll discover strategies I'm using right now to maximize my gains and to mitigate losses.
Charles' new book will show you how he selects stocks that deliver high-performing results like these.
Nothing like this has ever been written. And today, it's my free gift to you to help you seize the moment and capitalize on this unique window of opportunity.
To get your free copy of Charles Payne's new book, Unbreakable Investor, text the word WIN to 505-505 and just cover shipping. Text WIN to 505-505 now. Text the word WIN to 505-505 right now.
Welcome back. It's day 5 of testimony in the Karen Reed murder trial. We're joined now by our very own court insider, Sue O'Connor, who I think has been there for each of those 5 days.
Almost.
Yeah?
I think. I didn't get in the first day because I wasn't
that's right.
there early enough.
That's right.
You're in the overflow room. It still counts. So with each day, though, this case really does get more complicated, and a lot of it is about relationships.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we all understand. If you come from a small town, I lived in Canton for a little while. I lived in Revere. People live there, they grow up, they become the police chief, they become the mayor, they sit on the board, they own restaurants. You know, it's not uncommon for this many overlaps of people to know each other. The complication here a little bit is you have this Boston police aspect of it, where Albert, who owned the home, was a Boston police officer. John O'Keefe obviously was a Boston police officer. And you have the layers of the police interacting with other law enforcement around the scene of an accident or a crime. You also have this layer of the Canton police who testified today that, you know, John O'Keefe wasn't officially dead when they removed him from the scene, so they didn't have authorization to have the state police come in and do an unintended dead body investigation. So they started this investigation, as you've been talking about, improvising.
Yeah, leaf blowers and solo cups and brown paper bags.
Every retired cop I have talked to said that when they hear the word improvise from a younger police officer, they go, don't do it, because this is where it often ends up, where the leaf blower might have ended up being a good idea, but it might be a better idea for the defense because they kept saying how well it worked, but they didn't find any of the glass or any of the other evidence except for the blood and the broken glass. Right. So it's a very complicated layer of small town politics, people who went to elementary school with each other, as we've talked about earlier, firefighters who were friends or acquaintances with the daughter of the, you know, it's just layer upon layer of complication.
All right, so Sue's been talking to us about the things that the jurors are hearing, but there were 2 big developments that the jurors haven't heard yet. This alleged perjury of Katie McLaughlin, one of the first responders, and her relationship with Caitlin Albert. And then also the Canton police officer, Michael Lank, who apparently has some kind of long-standing relationship with one of the Alberts.
Yes, and what's interesting about the Michael Lank, and again, the jury was not in the room for this. This was voir dire, so they're going to find out if they can introduce some information that they get about Michael Lang to the jury in the defense's cross. And Canoni said this is trying to avoid a trial within a trial to make it even more complicated, to your point.
Right.
Look, Lang grew up with the Alberts. He has a relationship with them. He was involved as a police officer with an altercation that Chris Albert, who is not a police officer, the brother of the person who owns the home, was saying he was getting beat up, he was being chased, and it ended with a criminal investigation and charges into Lang.
Remind us when this was.
This was right 20 years ago.
Okay, just to be clear, it has nothing to do.
Nothing to do with right now, which is why Canoni's like, we can't have a trial within a trial. So they're going to find a way, the defense, to introduce this information to the jury on cross to show that Lang might have a bias to protect the Alberts in some way because he grew up with them, although he did say that his relationship with Brian Albert was civil, which in police talk doesn't mean I love you.
No.
That's a good way to put it. All right, our court insider, Sue O'Connell, thank you.
We'll be right back.
Here in Boston, trust is earned. So if you want people to see their town in a new light, you gotta be willing to explore new places to find it.
Weather on NBC 10 Boston is brought to you by View Boston.
It's Ford SUV season. Time to get out there and take on adventure in a whole new way. Start with great offers on Ford Bronco and Bronco Sport, all equipped with 4x4 capability and with the help of GOAT modes to go over any type of terrain. All in stock and ready for immediate delivery. It's Ford SUV season. Let's get going. Now lease a Ford Bronco Sport for $329 a month for 24 months. In stock, only at your New England Ford dealer.
Change is never easy. There will be naysayers, doubters, and critics. You may even give up for a moment, only to start again another day. Because you believe in moving to the beat of your own drum, in passing down lifelong skills, in your ability to lose weight and keep it off. And when you believe you can succeed, you already have.
Wegovy is for adults with obesity and shouldn't be used with semaglutide or GLP-1 medicines. Don't take Wegovy if you or your family had medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if allergic to it. Stop Wegovy and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or an allergic reaction. Serious side effects may happen, including pancreatitis and gallbladder problems. Wegovy may cause low blood sugar in people with type 2 diabetes, especially if you take medicines to treat type 2 diabetes. Tell your provider about vision problems or changes, or if you feel your heart racing while at rest. Depression or thoughts of suicide may occur. Call your provider right away if you have any mental changes. Common side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
So keep on believing, because it's not just about the weight you lose, it's about everything you gain. Believe on. Wegovy.
Diabetes can serve up a lot of questions, like what is your glucose and can you have more carbs? Before you decide, with the Freestyle Libre 3 system, know your glucose and where it's heading. No finger sticks needed. Now the world's smallest and thinnest sensor sends your glucose levels directly to your smartphone. Manage your diabetes with more confidence and lower your A1C, the #1 CGM prescribed in the US. Try it for free at freestylelibre.us.
Join our VIP wash club. Only $19.99 per month. Cancel anytime.
Prestige Car Wash, home of the free vacuum.
Wash your car every day.
Cancel anytime.
Free vacuum for everyone.
There is so much that still needs to be improved, and that is where this nonprofit comes in.
Yeah, so our mission is to increase opportunities for affordable housing in communities of color. So we work with families to support their dreams of owning a home in the future.
Testimony continues tomorrow at 9 a.m. Another half day on a Tuesday, a half day in court.
That's right. Remember, we're streaming the trial on our website, our YouTube page, as well as our sister station, NECN. The testimony has been riveting. And we'll be back here at 7 tomorrow night for another edition of Canton Confidential, the Karen Reed murder trial. JC Monahan and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Watch me. Watch me turn, drift, and fly. With a gas pedal underfoot, I can make grown men cry. My very first race changed everything in a flash. But heroes whisked me away and healed wounds from the crash. 900 horses may be too much for some to tame. Put me behind the wheel and I'll see you in victory lane. Watch me. Life-saving pediatric burn care at Shriners Children's. The most amazing care anywhere.
Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun.
Sandals Jamaica sale is now on with rates from $1.99 per person per night. Visit sandals.com or call 1-800-SANDALS.
It's the summer of $9.99 at Bob's.
And we're celebrating with 3 4-piece bedroom sets with gorgeous finishes and features for just $9.99 each. When the looks you love go for $9.99 or less, there's only one thing to say. Oh, my Bob!
Meet the future. A chef, a designer, and an engineer. All learning to save and spend their money with Chase. The chef's cooking up first with her new debit card.
Hungry?
Uh-huh. The designer's eyeing sequins, plaid. While mom is eyeing his spending. Nice. And the engineer? She's taking control with her own account for college. 3 futures, all with Chase. Freedom for kids, control for parents. One bank for both. Chase, make more of what's yours.
I did know that back pain, foot pain come along with the job of waiting tables.
This is Tony.
Things that I've tried have failed.
And this is Tony's Good Feet story.
Before my arch supports, I felt defeated. But since getting the arch supports from the Good Feet store, I have had no